All right, it's 11 o'clock. We're just going to give it about a minute and then we're going to dive straight in. Thank you, everybody who's joined us so far. We've got a big crowd that's registered, and it should be an interesting discussion. So give us about a minute and we'll dive right in. I'm Dave Haynes, your moderator for today.
Good.
Oh, we're at 80 and climbing.
Yeah.
I gather if you can get 150, 200 people at a webinar, that's pretty good these days.
No. I think in the next 2 weeks, still many people on webinars, and then people start working. Kind of. No, this is also work, but it's more available. Is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Now that this is good because we can share and indeed think on what we all need to do in terms of business, and hear from others.
Yeah, it's 11:01, so I think we'll just dive in, and I'm sure people will continue to join in. Welcome those who've joined us right now. This is the Let's Talk About Touch roundtable discussion, and we're going to talk about touch, amazingly enough. I am Dave Haynes. I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada. I do a publication called 16:9 about digital signage, and every day I'm writing about touch. And since this whole health crisis has popped up globally, there's been a lot of discussion around the new normals of retail and public interaction. And after many years of so many technologists talking about customer engagement technology and how you engage with your shoppers, your travelers, and everything else, now we have this pathogen, and we have concerns, right or wrong, about using technologies like touch to get information, to do transactions, and so on. So we think it's a good opportunity for the CEOs of several companies that are involved in touch technology to have a, we hope, lively discussion, interesting discussion about what the technology is about, what the concerns are about, how they're being mitigated, and so on. So with that, I'd like to ask each of the participants in the roundtable to introduce themselves, to say a little bit about their companies, and then we'll just dive in. You will see at the bottom of the screen, for housekeeping purposes, there is a chat mechanism. We encourage people to jump on and throw questions at us that way. I will monitor those and toss them in there when we get the opportunity. And we'll try to leave some room at the end as well for questions. So with that, Miguel, could you introduce yourselves?
Yeah. So my name is Miguel. I'm the CEO of founder and of DISPLAX. We focus on doing large, very large touchscreens, and we sell this in films and in glass and ship this all over the world. We really love touch, and we envisioned this in 2008, something like that, when we thought that large touchscreens could be multi-touch like the iPhone. And at that time, everything was just a single touch. And we had some people here that said, "Oh, I think we can do that, but in large." So that's how we started, and we ship this all over the world.
Okay. Gary Mundrake from TSI Touch.
Hi, I'm Gary Mundrake, president of TSI Touch. We're based in the United States. We are touchscreen and protective solution providers, primarily U.S. market space, but also a large amount in Canada and some globally.
All right, Frank.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Frank Lamprecht, CEO and founder of the Interactive Displays GmbH in Germany. The company was founded in 2005, and we initially started focusing mainly on large format touch solutions. Back then, basically or mostly optical, and starting with PCAP also. Yeah, nowadays we do every kind of custom touch solution, any size, any format, special integration purposes, whatever the customer needs for their projects.
All right, and Alex.
My name is Alexander Aelberts. I'm also CEO of the company PresTop and 2 other companies. already in the touch business for, I think, more than 25 years. We call ourselves value-added manufacturer. We use the technology from DISPLAX and other manufacturers to create solutions. So we sell to partners and we sell to end users, sometimes with software, sometimes without, but we focus on delivering complete solutions and not delivering components. Our market is mainly Europe, but we have several companies companies based in the Netherlands who have their stores worldwide. And that's Alexander Aelberts and PresTop.
All right, thank you. So I have this theory that we're talking today about touchscreens in the context of COVID-19 because touchscreens are one of those few things out there when you're traveling in retail and public spaces, airport terminals, whatever it may be. It's one of those few things that says, touch me. And I wonder if that's why there's more concern, right or wrong, about using touchscreens than there would be normally, as opposed to touching the handrail on an escalator or a door handle or whatever it may be. I mean, there's every surface that you touch is potentially harboring a pathogen. Why are we so concerned around touch? Who wants to dive in?
I think Gary has a good.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, he's deflecting.
Trying to be polite here, trying to be polite. So we are in the touchscreen business. So we're hyper aware of the impact of anything that happens to touchscreens. We're not in the door handle business or the wall business, but touchscreens are what we're hyper aware of. So when this started, I had a lot of the same thoughts. People, are they going to be afraid of using touchscreens? And why are they going to be afraid of using touchscreens? And I drew a slightly different conclusion. It wasn't because they're asking you to touch it. It's because we in the industry became hypersensitive to it. And I think we actually started with this concern. We actually generated fear of our product. And then as I started thinking about it, I said, wait a minute. So you take 100,000 square foot casino that has thousands of slot machines, gaming tables, restrooms, rails, everything, and it has 2 wayfinding touchscreens in it. If you can open up 100,000 foot gaming space, put thousands of people in it, and effectively mitigate risk of transmission across that entire space, you're worried about the 4 square feet of touchscreens in there? That's your concern? Not the other 99,900 and 99 square feet. So I started thinking about it. Instead of singling these out, they need to be incorporated in the sense that as the public reopens, as commercial environments reopen, they're bringing customers back into their spaces. They're implementing cleaning of, the doors, the floors, the stores, the walls, the bathrooms, they're everything. And what we're saying is if you can mitigate the transfer of virus on all those surfaces, certainly the cleaning ritual of the touchscreen will be included in that. Why is it any different? But if there is concern, what can we do to mitigate it? And a couple of ways we can do to mitigate it. There's not one laser approach. I know in the past we talked about UV light, which would do it, but it's very hard to implement in a customer-facing environment. So more of a layered approach, just as we're looking at virtually everything else, social distancing and everything else. The layered approach being applying routine cleaning to the screens, providing readily available hand cleaners so people can use it before they use a touchscreen, after they use a touchscreen, before they use a door, after they use a door, before they do any touching. And then we are adding antimicrobial films as an additional layer. Again, it's not a solution standalone. There's no single solution standalone for touch. There's no single solution standalone, I believe, for any environment. It has to be a layered approach. So our going forward belief is that actually there'll be greater demand for touch. As people want a social distance, you don't have a concern of a machine coughing on you. But you may have a concern of a person coughing on you. You're only going to get transmission from a surface, whether it's a touchscreen or a rail, if you touch it, but you can clean your hand. And in the United States, the CDC is recommending cleaning your hands, 10 times a day. Maybe a little overkill for some people, but really it's basic hygiene, and basic hygiene of yourself and hygiene of the device you're interfacing with, whether it's your iPhone, the touchscreen, or the slot machine, or the door. So that's my take. We need to revision what we're talking about here, which is the world needs more touch, not less touch.
Gary makes an interesting point. I'm curious if you guys have the same sort of impression that maybe the touch people have brought this on themselves, this concern that maybe end users aren't terribly concerned about this. What are you hearing?
Yeah, like me. Now I don't think that's really the touch people. They know that the glass will be cleaned. It's more. I followed last 1.5 months a lot of LinkedIn posts, and then you see that company, for example, they are making apps for musea, so that people visiting a museum can check on their mobile phone what they can see in a museum. And we think, wow, so that's the solution. To go back to apps, so that people are focusing on their mobile phone while walking to a museum. I mean, we all know in this industry that's not the solution. You have big screens, the interfaces are made to touch, and an app on a phone. People want to use them for WhatsApp, or maybe sending a video or whatever, but not walking to a museum. So what you see in the market that the people who are talking about touch is a danger or whatever are the companies who sell other products, which and the same is like a software company based in France. I saw this message today. I believe that was one of the companies who were present at the last webinar. He completely focused on touch until before the crisis. Now he's talking about now we have to use screens with motion, with recognition of the eye movement. So these people, these companies are pushing us in are the touchscreens in a sort of danger zone, but that's not a danger zone. Exactly what Carrie says. When you clean it, and these screens are more cleaned than a rail or whatever. So it's not the touch industry saying that there's a danger, but the companies who are like to sell their own solutions and are pushing touch in a sort of area that's dangerous to touch. But that's, we all know, and I can prove it because there will be more demand on touchscreens than we ever had before this crisis started. So I'm positive that when we bring the message and we point them at the advantages of touch and how to use them, also in these environments from 1.5 or 2 meters or whatever, or the 5 bottles of port wine, Miguel said that's how we measure the distance between the people here in Portugal. And when we can tell them that there are even advantages in using touch, I'm positive that we will push away these companies who are trying to sell their solutions, which don't work. And Gary told us last week also a story about Microsoft with Kinect, how many billions, how many dollars did they spend on this solution? Is it there? No. Completely stopped because they saw that it will not, it's not working when you're waving in front of the screen to have a certain action. Now you have your touch screen and your finger goes directly to that button which you want to touch, and that's why touch will stay. So it's the companies who try to sell their solutions are pushing touch in a sort of danger zone, but there's no danger zone. There's a zone where we can make money. All the spectators can make money. End users can have advantages, etc. From
Alex, if I could ask you, you mentioned a couple times the solution.
Yeah.
The solution. What is the problem that you're defining a solution for?
Well, what we're a small company and small country, but we have quite a big companies who had a very big issue at the moment. Their stores were closed because the stores were closed and all the stock wasn't accessible. So they saw all the online companies selling their products, but all the stores, they saw their products, if it was fashion or even watches, they couldn't sell them because they were actually locked in their stores. And what we see as a solution, and we're already seeing it because we have one customer, they are really rebuilding their store in the new 1.5 meter store, that they say, okay, we have to rearrange the store, not on every square meter, all kinds of products, so that you really, that you don't have space for the visitors. Now we need to have more space for the visitors, and we need to have less products. And the solution we see for retail is that replacing self-ordering kiosks. But that's the advantage. You will always have to see the advantage of something like this, because it's bad. That word. But then you also can see, okay, we are now all ordering online, so now we're all used to order online, but it's no fun. You can't. The fun part is when you receive it, and then okay, it's not good, and then comes the not so funny part. You have to bring it back. In a store, at least, you can feel the product, you can smell it, you can maybe also put it on, and that's the fun part of it. So, but now people are used to getting online, so the solution there is for retail. Please go place self-ordering kiosks. So, because these people, we as a consumer already used to get to order online, but in this case through a touchscreen based self-ordering kiosk, where we can order products. And the biggest advantage also for the shop owners, they have more space, less stock, but the customers are paying upfront, and that's also was also a big, it still is, of course, disadvantage of what's happening now here, because they when all the stock in the stores, they have to pay upfront, or they have 30 or 60 days, etc. But when you have your products ordering online, then you let the customers pay upfront. So, and we see that also as part of the solution. But we have more. So I strongly believe that touch will get stronger, but that's maybe the difference between you three and PresTop. We are very close to the end users, and they ask us, okay, Alexander, can you please help? How can we solve it? So this is one of the solutions.
Frank and Miguel, I'm curious, have things changed in the last 3 months, let's say pre-pandemic, what your end user customers and resellers were asking for, and now are they hearing different things from the buyers?
I mean, definitely we have this huge gap now. Before the crisis, everything was about personal contact, face-to-face, being face-to-face or close to the customer. And now you see it here, Zoom meetings are the new normal, and this is the huge gap that we need to bridge somehow. So I think there will be a lot of solutions which enable customers and people who sell things, service providers to get closer to each other again. And certainly the touch will help, or touch screens will help to bridge that gap also, and bring people closer together again, be one tool to mitigate the crisis. I mean, we also hear about, for example, hotels who disable their touch screens in the hotels, but this is more like a trust building tool to give the people a good feeling that their concerns are being taken honest or being taken earnest, it's not really something that diminishes the danger of the virus or spreading the virus. So it's really about mitigating the perceived danger and the real danger. The real danger coming from touchscreens is not very big. I mean, it's a very small contact phase. Like Gary said, touching handrails and doorknobs and stuff like that, it's much bigger danger of conceiving some virus than with a touchscreen. So this is something that we have to work on, giving our customers a good feeling that the real danger is not very big using touchscreens, but they have to address the perceived danger of the touchscreens, and that's by cleaning the touchscreens regularly and maybe also putting up signs about the cleaning schedule and things like that.
Miguel?
Good. Well, I think we all in this beginning, especially some weeks ago, reflected on what was happening. And we created a lot of discussions on what is this impacting. And the big conclusion we had is people are afraid of people. They are not afraid of the machines. So the fact that I touch a machine, I know what happens and I can clean it right after. But if I'm interacting a person, I don't know what can happen. No? So indeed, the touchscreens and machines can help on the social distancing, and that's what we are all looking on not on stopping the spread of the virus. Is we are keeping the social distancing. The objective is that. So the touchscreens and the kiosks and all these machines are part of the solution. Not indeed they are the problem. The touchscreens are one element of the customer journey. What people use during their process. So indeed, managers are not really that worried, and that's what we have been hearing. And indeed, McDonald's just launched now some rules on what will happen with the new self-service, with the new norms. And part of that is they gonna have the self-ordering kiosks open so people can interact and do their orders. What they're gonna do is clean it frequently, but cleaning a touchscreen is as important as cleaning a doorknob, as cleaning any other thing that people will be touching. As Gary
But it's not more important, right?
I don't think it's more important. Yeah. It's just as important.
It's another surface.
It's one exactly. It's one more surface where I'm gonna touch. And the touchscreens can indeed be part of the customer journey, be part of the experience people have during their purchase. And we just worried because it's our business, because it's as important as any other thing, as a keyboard or any other thing that will, or a table or a chair. And this is the conclusions we've been having in this conversation here, trying to understand how this is. And in this, at the end, we see this is an opportunity to help people social distancing between each other and stop the spread of the virus. So we really are confident that touchscreens will even grow. And this is bringing challenges to the technology that we are not focusing on, that now we are seeing things that we were doing before now potentially can have impact on this new way of living.
What do you mean by
I
that?
also want to react on what Frank just said about the hotels. I think these hotels are, in my opinion, what I just said, there's a huge market for touchscreens. Why? Because you see a lot of handling at hotels where you can think, okay, can that be not been done by a machine, by a touchscreen, like checking in and checking out? And until now, there was no reason to do so, because you had a lot of personnel and people like to talk with interact with the personnel from the hotel, etc. But just like Miguel said, now people are afraid that the person is maybe spitting, or that you don't want to talk with somebody with a big plastic glass between you two persons in it. It's so impersonal. Even you see each other, but still there's a piece of plastic between you both. So these hotels who are thinking, okay, we're going to switch off the machines, that means that when I'm going to a hotel, then I have to go to that person. Maybe that personnel is also afraid. Like Gary, we had a meeting, of course, last week, and said that the big challenge in the US is to have the employees get working again, because also they are afraid. So at the moment, you think, I'm going to switch off that machine, but on the other hand, you don't have personnel. Okay, what's happened then with the guests? You need to help them. They need to have their keys or their check-in or their bills, etc. So my message to all the viewers is think about, okay, where can you change the process where initially it's done by men, women, now converted to usage by machine. And that so I think in hotel business there's a huge challenge. There you can sell the check-ins. Retail, what I just mentioned, there's also a challenge. We got an order last week from a big pizza chain ordering self-service kiosks. All touch, but they're all glass, not infrared or monitor built in glass. That's fully glass, so that you can easily clean. So I think also there's a market they can sell to, but you also have to look very careful to your products. You have to change them because I have an image of a McDonald's kiosk built in France, but there they build in a standard Yama monitor into a piece of glass, and they say we can easily clean it. But I think that's not correct, because you clean the glass, but the edge around the monitor, that will be that's the danger zone. So, but we are all in the business in PCAP, so we know how to build glass with touchful behind it, and maybe a lot of integrators are watching now, but they can build with the technology from DISPLAX and from TSI and from Frank, etc., their own touchscreens, monitor behind it, and that will be an even more safer product. But my message again: look at where can process be changed by machines. Good-looking machines. They have to be a bit design where you can expect that the personnel will be afraid in talking with these people, and that is for hotels, that's for theaters, that's for cinemas, etc., etc. So at the moment we improve our products because we have to exchange our products, not build a normal monitor into a piece of metal. Now we make it completely glass. That's one. Second is point your customers at the fact that that machine will not spit. That machine, that touchscreen or touch wall or table or whatever, that's more cleaned than the toilet seat at your home. I'm positive on that. And when we tell them, the advantage of all these products, there will be even a bigger market. It takes time. We have to improve our products. We have to approach these companies. But there's always one company, like the sports chain we're working with, who are converting their store in a 1.5 meter store where they put less products in it, more touchscreens, etc. Use that as a reference. Let the customer join in the webinar, and I'm positive that we all will have more business, even more than before this crisis. So Frank, go to the hotel and explain them that they have to turn on the machines, and that's even better than letting the visitors go to the personnel. Please.
It's an interesting situation in that if you're enforcing all these social distancing rules and safety rules, and you have all these groceries and everything else putting up plexiglass shields, it makes the store or whatever environment, a hotel check-in, whatever it may be, look very odd and different. And it strikes me as touchscreens are something that people are already familiar with, and you can retain a sense of normalcy if you are using touchscreens as opposed to all these other measures.
In the United States, there's a fair number of grocers that have, they've put in place self-checkout lines in the grocery stores. And some of the bigger chains are shutting down their cashiers and pushing everybody to those self-checkout lines, because that, again, goes back to your point, Dave. It's social distancing from people. There's no guidelines put by any country. They say social distance from surfaces, and a touchscreen's a surface. They talk about the hotel shutting down the Netherlands. We've seen a small uptick in one major hotel chain here over the past couple of weeks buying touchscreens.
Yep.
That are shipping into areas that I know are shut down hard. Certain cities in the United States that are hard shut down. So the hotels, I'm sure, are not even functioning right now, but they're actually bringing in touchscreens. And I think it goes back to that idea. The functionality of touchscreens didn't change. The whole idea of a touchscreen 10 weeks ago was to engage your customers, to mitigate staffing costs, and to reduce that transaction friction, whether that transaction is finding your way around the airport or buying your groceries. That hasn't changed. The other capabilities that people are pushing, such as the QR codes and put everything on your cell phone, those kind of things, they've all existed. They've existed for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And they'll continue to exist just as touch will exist. I think the question that we're debating almost is, will that scale tip another way to where we go from touch to all these other devices? Or will, as this COVID mitigate through vaccines, through antidotes, through, frankly, people just not caring? And there's a amazingly large population base that just doesn't care. Is it going to tip that scale to these other things? And I would argue that if they haven't been effective 8 weeks ago, they probably didn't become radically effective today. Mm-hmm. There will be some people, I think, that operate on more of a fear basis. That will try to look at other solutions, and some of them will adopt them. But it goes back to my initial point. Some people will also look at, how do I reduce person-to-person contact? And the best way to do that in current technology is to install a touchscreen, an interactive touchscreen.
And it seems like there's not this, there seems to be this push that you have to use this or you use this. But the reality is, for most of these kinds of environments where they're engaging the public in various ways, it's a bunch of things. And maybe the QR code, queue management thing really works for one particular application, but it doesn't take the place of a touchscreen in another application. So you got to mash things up. You don't just say, okay, it's got to be completely contactless from now on, because that probably doesn't work terribly well.
Yeah, that reminds me what happened with computers. We started using mouse, then keyboard, then touch, and none of them went away.
Yeah,
touchscreens didn't replace the keyboards. So there are new layers of things, and there are new ways of getting in the stores. And some people like one way, some others like another way.
Mm-hmm.
And touchscreens aren't dangerous per se or deadly. I mean, we deliver a lot of touch surfaces to hospitals, which are used in operation rooms, for example. Mm-hmm. Just have to make sure that they are cleaned. And as Alexander, for example, said, it's important to make it easily cleanable, and then it's a no-brainer. It's not dangerous anymore.
Yeah. But can I show you some more examples, which we are noticing here in the Netherlands, since we are very close to end users. I'm going to walk to a touchscreen, and so somebody is following me now with the camera, because even made a sort of slideshow. Now that this is not a webinar where we're going to show slideshows, but it helps me a bit explaining what we're doing here in the Netherlands. And what I just said in the beginning about more usage of touchscreens, but another setup is that we see that the stores have to be changed at 1.5/2 meters. But the biggest advantage also of that is that you really can locate those people. Okay, here's your touchscreen, and here you have to stand, and here you make your line, so nobody can hit you. You can't do that with people moving around. So a touchscreen is also the advantage of a fixed area. You will need, but also have more space. I think that something went wrong there in that line. But had to place touchscreens, you need to have more space in the store, of course. And this is what I said also from less stock and less personnel. But what we also see, that's the third point, is that we are placing indoor kiosks outdoor. I just also mentioned. And then you can talk, okay, but you can order by mobile. And you see a lot of companies now with mobile applications so that you can order your food or whatever. But at the moment, you're run out of battery.
People will still go to stores. People like to go to stores.
Yeah, but at the moment you run out of a battery, people can't order. And a kiosk that doesn't run on batteries, at least there are a few that run on batteries. So you will see also there an advantage when people say, or restaurants or whatever, they say, now we have our mobile ordering system. Okay, great, but when their battery is empty, so that person can't order again anymore. Oh yeah. So how do we solve it? So there it is. You can sell touchscreens even when they are using mobile applications. There's a combination of queue management. Miguel has a very nice company called Mundrake, and they just introduced now a new software for queue management. And we combine that not only with QR and you get your ticket on your mobile phone, but also with a kiosk where you can touch the screen and you get a ticket. And I was there at the store because I have several setups now, several pilots. And it was really amazing to see that people, without thinking, they walked to the touchscreen, they touched it because they know when I touch it, I will get a ticket. So you don't have to explain them because they are aware that it will be cleaned. And they see the advantage of the machine. And so they can wait outside looking at the number on the screen. So
touch just works.
Yeah, and that's what I want to show you also here, that 1.5 meters, and in Germany is 2 meters, and in Portugal again 5 bottles sport wine. But there you see that you can have a certain area around your touchscreens. And in this case, we made a video or photos of a setup in our showroom, and we are using a touch pen. Because that when people really are afraid, I'm not going to use the touchscreen because this finger is for me the most important part of my body, and I'm not going to clean it for the next 24 hours. Okay, then take a touch pen. But the advantage of a touchscreen is you can touch it wherever you want because you made that user interface. Because I can go directly to this button and go to the next slide. And this is what we have for Tommy Hilfiger. That's a customer of ours. These are not photos from the last weeks. These are photos from installations we did last year. And what you can see already is this a video wall already with 3 people over there. You see 2 big 86-inch screens. You see a touch table there, an interactive mirror, screens with, I think, more than 2 meters distance, etc. So you have to point customers, your customers, because a lot of integrators already, to these kind of solutions, because there are solutions. And again, you can position the people exactly on the spot where you want them, because there's your touchscreen and there you can get your information, then there you can order your products. And that's what we have to bring forward, not the danger about touchscreens, bullocks. It's not dangerous because they're even more clean again than your toilet seat at home.
Do you think I'm curious, do you think the demand in the marketplace, I ask of all of you, is it shifting to pure functionality as opposed to the discoverability side of touchscreen, where Alex was showing the Tommy Hilfiger store. Is the demand that you're seeing right now more about, I need to do this, or I need to use a touchscreen to do this, to replace some way that we were normally doing things?
Yeah, yeah. What I said, the personnel, Gary told us that it's really very difficult to get personnel working because they are afraid, particularly in New York. And when you show them that the touchscreen is cleaned, and so the personnel can direct them to use the touchscreen. And I think that's also a bridge. This is Schiphol. Many of them have been there, but we installed these touchscreens. It's not a promo, by the way, but I'm allowed to show you that also this can be for you the future. Laurens is showing the machine. We have built one extra here in our showroom, but we have installed in this machine video chat. And that's also the advantage. I told you about going online and ordering, and now you bring that online to the store. Now you can also bring video chat in store. Because there you can, when there is really a need in talking to personnel, in this case you can talk them by using the camera and the microphone. And that also gives us a lot of opportunity as kiosk manufacturers. Combine it with.
Do you mind if I give a little different spin on that?
Yeah.
So, Dave, I think that a little bit different take on it than Alex has is 5 years ago, people put touchscreens in literally to have a touchscreen because it was a cool thing. People would buy them up and say, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to have a touchscreen. What's it going to do? I don't know, but it's going to have a touchscreen.
It's engagement.
Sure. Right. Whatever that meant.
Yeah. No definition.
I think where touchscreens in the retail environment, B2C selling a product really started taking real hold in the endless aisle concept. If I don't have the physical entity in my store, the physical item in my store, you can order it right now. I know that there's some clothing retailers in the United States that they see up to 30% upsell with a customer. Once they pick a product out in the store, they take them essentially through the touchscreen interface and say, you can order this and this and this and complement it. So my belief is that touchscreens have evolved from that kind of cool thing, nice to have thing, to what you said. They're functional. They provide less friction to a consumer interaction, whether that friction is how to get to my gate, to order a hamburger, or to add a scarf to my dress. Not that I wear a dress. As far as you know, we're on Zoom, you don't know. But anyway, my point is touchscreens.
This all took an interesting turn.
Touchscreens are, I compare them now to cash registers. Every store you go into has some type of cash register, whether it's a credit card swipe on people's cell phone with a little square, or it's an actual cash register. Nobody cares what the cash register looks like. What they care about, does it efficiently process your transaction? Now, touchscreens, obviously the aesthetic still is relevant, but people are more concerned about the functionality. Is this a reliable, sustainable product that fills a customer need? And as long as you're providing reliable, sustainable products that fill customers' needs, whether they're touch, QR codes, or any of the other things, people will continue to use them. I saw one of the feeds this morning, somebody was selling the 22-inch screen that takes your forehead temperature. Nice, slick looking. Once it took your forehead temperature, if it was green, then it unlocked the door so you could open it up. And they showed a line of people standing behind the touchscreen that they didn't have to touch. It was contactless. That they would take your temperature, then each one would open the door with their hand. It was like what was the point? What was the value of this? What was the value of this? Everybody, touched the door.
Yeah.
But again, functionality of touchscreens, the hardware functionality, and Miguel knows this better than anybody because he actually creates those discrete components, isn't revolutionizing every 6 months or 9 months. It's evolving slowly, but the content and the creativity of some of the better content creators is what's really revolutionizing the touch. And I think if anything coming out of CV19, what you'll see is not so much the hardware evolving to some great degree, but you'll see some of the more qualified, we'll use that term, content creators come out with some innovation for interaction. But the technology that we have now, while it's different than it was 30 years, it's really not. Resistive touchscreens 30 years ago are about the same as a touchscreen today. It's been widgetized, but it's still the same basic concept. And I think going forward for the next 20 or 30 years, you're gonna see the world using more touch.
Yeah, I think so.
Speaking about evolution, I mean, one new thing that came up is the antimicrobial treatment of the surface. But I mean, Gary, you said it earlier, it's a nice marketing thingy, but it's not really any helpful in this virus situation.
And why is that?
Maybe Gary, you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, well, I know that.
So the antimicrobial coatings that are marketed, that are verified, validated, that actually have real test results, they are effective in inhibiting growth. So if you deposit a pathogen on a surface, whether it's a touchscreen, elevator button, handle, shopping cart, the antimicrobials will inhibit that pathogen from growing. They don't kill pathogens, they inhibit them from growing. When you inhibit a pathogen from growing, it dies of its own volition effectively. So depending on the pathogen, it might kill the pathogen in an hour, it might starve the pathogen in an hour, it might starve it in 24 hours, or might starve it in 72 hours. So I always say, antimicrobial solutions kill yesterday's pathogens. Today's are alive and well.
Exactly.
Now, that being said, in a layered approach, you know, somebody goes up, the shop opened, they cleaned the shop before opening, including the touchscreen and the other, you know, all the other surfaces. Somebody walks up, they have a hand cleaner dispenser. They can clean their hands before they use the touch, after they use the touch. They can also use that hand cleaner to touch other things in the store. And then they have antimicrobial, if it's on there, provides an added layer. It's an added layer of protection. It's not a, you know, it's not an end all to be all. It does provide a layer, just not the only layer. So restated, in conjunction with all the other things, antimicrobial is not a bad thing. As a standalone solution, it's misleading and certainly not a solution at all.
Yeah, it doesn't solve the problem. It does have a validation, scientific validation, that it's really gonna kill COVID-19. So I was also looking on that on several materials and coatings, some sprayed, some directly treated on the glass, and none was really proven that kills the thing. So it's just a waste of time and money. And what really people need to guarantee is the surfaces, not just touchscreens, are frequently cleaned. And that's important. Yeah.
And that's what you need to show the people that you clean it. Like when you go here to the toilet, at the gas station or wherever, you see a sign and you can read on it. It's signed by somebody how late it's closed, when it was cleaned. And that's also what can be done in your software. It's all about software. When you clean it, make a button green, and then it shows exactly the time when you've cleaned it. There are solutions for it. Show it that's clean and there's no danger, there's no problem, etc. And that's also what I want to show over here. This slide, probably you've seen it, but here in the Netherlands, McDonald's has a new well, not a new one. They have a McDonald's where they still are using, of course, they're going to use these screens, these self-ordering kiosks. But in this case, they probably have to reposition their units, but they're still going to use touchscreens. Yep. And as you can see, they made some lines on the floor. When you Google it and you go new style McDonald's or Big Mac at distance Dutch McDonald fries proof. What a long name, but you will find some more photos from it. So touch will not go away. They invested millions of dollars, these quick service restaurants. Now they have to spend a bit more money in repositioning the units and maybe cleaning it more. But I'm positive they will have more touchscreens in these areas.
Indeed, yesterday there is new regulations or new guidelines from McDonald's headquarters on how they're gonna use, how they're gonna guide people in the stores. So there will be a limit on the number of people that goes in. Then there's a route that is created to the digital kiosks. There will be people can order on the kiosks, and then they say it contactless. With contactless, they will pick up the food from someone with a polycarbonate in between. So as we see, this just goes all in on where we are going around is the touchscreens are facilitating the social distancing, and they're going to be there. Yeah, they're going to facilitate, and they're a part of the solution.
And also, what I want to bring forward, we talk a lot about retail and quick service restaurants, etc. But we see also a huge growing market for the usage of kiosks at hospitals for check-in, and that's where DISPLAX comes by with their touch foils. Also, the usage of PCAP in this case operation rooms, and there was a huge investment in operation rooms due to the lot of ill people having corona. We call it corona here in the Netherlands. And we got extra orders for these products because they need more operation rooms. Mm-hmm. So for all the viewers, also look further and look at these markets because these screens are easy to clean even when you have bloody hands, etc. So look also at other markets.
And even with many touchscreens, we can use gloves and people can still functionally work, right? So they can protect themselves in case there's some worry. Yeah.
Here in the U.S., there are some larger hospital networks that over years past have installed touchscreens for check-in and wayfinding and many other functions. And during the height of this COVID, they are actually directing people to use the touchscreens for check-in, because you have someone coming into a hospital that's not feeling well, like, primarily the reason you go to them. Would you, again, the staff reduce their own risk of infection mm-hmm. by directing people to a touchscreen. And again, it's providing that frictionless contact with your customer. And we need to, and we've said it a couple of times, change that notion that touchscreens are the thing to fear. They are the thing that will help you and reduce transmission person to person, because right now touchscreens aren't people yet. And that's why I believe the market will continue to see increased demand as those venues turn toward how do I mitigate person-to-person contact while doing all the things I did before COVID.
I'm curious on a couple of technical levels. One of you, I think Gary mentioned early on about more demand to, or no, I think it was Miguel, talking about outdoor displays. Touch and outdoor exists certainly, but it's more of a challenge. The other thing I'm curious about is, while most touch overlays have, high impact glass of some kind over them, are there risks associated with well-intentioned cleaning people using solvents or something on a display that's going to damage the glass, the overlay, or the electronics in some way?
So in the U.S. market space, what's happened is that the large display manufacturers like LG and Samsung have come out with the IP56 rated outdoor displays. They're fairly ubiquitous, at least in the United States. They ship with a factory installed 6mm piece of protective glass. So to integrate those into an outdoor touchscreen, you can't add another layer of glass without adding some dedicated heating and cooling. So if you have to add dedicated heating and cooling, you've kind of defeated the purpose of buying an off-the-shelf outdoor unit. So in those instances, we're integrating those with IP-rated IR touch. So you can destroy the IP-rated IR touch with excessive use of alkalines and acidic cleaners. But by and large, there hasn't been an issue in the United States with that. Now, the PCAP solutions are much nicer to clean. Unless you can eat glass, you're not going to damage the PCAP solution. The issue that you run into, though, is you then have to go to a conditioned enclosure. You have to add that heat and cooling. So it becomes a cost trade-off between the customers. You know, do I buy this fully conditioned unit that I can clean with acid, or do I buy this IP-rated display that I can backfit with touch very cost effectively? By and large, I think the market is moving more toward use the IP56 because it's a cost issue. Now, there are some manufacturers in the US that do fully conditioned units, and they do a great job of it, and they use a lot of Miguel's PCAP doing it. But by and large, outside, people aren't cleaning things outside with bottles of acid. They're using soap and water. And I would argue that in public spaces, walk through New York City, they have thousands of touchscreens up there that the touch isn't active, but thousands of the fixtures up there. And I'm not saying they don't clean them. I'm just saying I've never seen one in the process of being cleaned.
I hope it rains.
I've seen many dead ones, but anyways.
Yeah. So, but I think by and large, outdoor, again, PCAP's a great solution for it, but you have to involve a lot of expense for it. And I don't think cleaning outdoor is any more difficult than cleaning indoor. And environments where they say sunlight, there has actually been legitimate tests and studies that direct sunlight is the quickest way to kill pathogens, especially COVID. If they're in direct sunlight, they're the closest thing to self-cleaning that there can be. It's the true antimicrobial, apparently, of sunlight.
And UV.
By and large, though. Go ahead.
And UV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by and large, outdoor, I don't think is even a twinkle of an issue. And I see internally, we still see that market moving forward. There appears to be no, from our perspective, slowdown in that deployment of outdoor touch units.
What do we see here in terms of the outdoor is more people asking if with our solution, people can have a clean edge-to-edge glass. And indeed, one of the things that we have good since the beginning is everything will be protected because the film is put on the inside, so you can seal the display and really throw water as many as you want and materials to clean it. So that's what we're feeling more like the questions coming up, and people worry on cleaning if they can clean it frequently but indeed I think especially in outdoor there will have to be some more worry on cleaning. It's very easily to see anywhere the touch outdoors really dirty. And I think we will have, I mean, cities will have to find all the guys that own those things. They will really have to look on a solution to get it more, so that people are confident on using it. In an indoor, in a mall, it's very easy to plan the cleaning of that. But in the outdoor, where people go and throw things to their even dirty things, it's especially a worry. But fortunately, in many places there's sun. It helps.
Frank, your company is Interactive Displays. Have you looked at the options the alternatives that are out there, like voice? And Alex was talking earlier about gesture and how that doesn't really work terribly well. Have you looked at these, or has there been much of a demand for it in the past or now?
In the past, there was quite some demand for like these Kinect-based solutions where you have to wave and then to control things. And it's been a nice solution for some flagship stores, maybe, where you put up such a thing for a few weeks, and then people are excited to use it
until they break.
Until they break. But I mean, maybe also, especially in Germany, we are not the ones who stand waving in public to control something in the shopping windows. So
that's the Dutch.
Maybe no, but yeah, there were some alternative solutions, and they still have their niche. It's a valid solution for some places, but not for a general interactive solution for shopping windows, for example.
Yeah.
Shopping windows, we use different solutions.
Yeah. People don't want learning curves. So
yeah.
If there is anything that I need to learn to interact, and especially in some cases in public, you don't want to be the fool that everybody's looking to. So you really want to touch or do something that just you are sure it's going to work. Otherwise, it's 10 people watching me. So you have to use something without learning curve. And Kinect was good in some cases, and there are other things, but you have to use, I'm not defending touch, I'm defending something that really, really works without failure. And touch for now, it works.
Yeah, but everybody has a mobile phone, so so everybody knows how to use it. They know where to touch to open an app, etc.
Exactly.
So
everybody's trained.
Exactly what we're all saying is that touch has the most ideal user interface. So why should we change? Why should we go back to the Kinect part and waving, etc. and having somebody standing next to you? I was in New York a lot of years ago, and there was I don't know which store it was, and that was also Kinect. And I do know a lot about interface and touch, but I didn't know at all how it would work. But so somebody had to help me to explain what I had to do. I said, okay, but why are you using this? Because it has no use at all. Yeah, we know it costs us a lot of time to explain how this works. So again, touch is still the best way to interact with your the technology, to interact with the need of the end user, of the customers. They want to have information, they want to order products, and their finger, at least when they're not blind, they go directly to the position on the screen where they can say, I want to pay. And that will never happen with all the new. They are not new, they are all technologies which are on the market, which companies are trying to sell now. It's really nonsense that they're trying to push it, because it doesn't work, and particularly now, because nobody will stand next to you explaining how that technology might work, because they want to have that distance. And touch, they will manage that distance. It's again explaining them the advantages and showing them how we can clean the screens and adjusting and the products what I just mentioned fully behind glass, and also see other possibilities. There's a lack of space in the stores, so you have to change the store, what I already said. But there are also new areas, not new by the way. Make your windows interactive. because well, people standing outside, you can have your interactive windows. Yes, it doesn't work with double glass, etc. The people from DISPLAX can explain it, but there are a lot of areas like shopping malls where you have single glass which you can make interactive. And there's your space. You have your space outside your store. And that's what we all have to do, point our customers, our retailers, our hospitals, hotels, etc., at the areas where we can bring the people to that area where they can get their information, order their products, etc. And there will be a lot of information kiosks with the touch pen dispenser or with the disinfection alcohol in it. And people will clean it themselves if they think they want to clean it. And you don't have to explain them. They need the tools, they need the alcohol, and you don't have to tell them how they can clean it. It's exactly that we don't have to tell them, the people, how to use the bathroom. Everybody knows that, at least when you're getting older.
You don't travel enough, Alex. There's a lot of people don't know how to use the bathroom.
Okay.
If you go back to what Dave asked, you know, these different technologies, a different way you can look at them is, you know, stuff, and we use Connect. Connect is kind of like the generic term for anything that's gesture, even though it's a Microsoft product. There's still products out there that do it. Or the QR code or the Wi-Fi link and all these different things. These products have coexisted with touch for many, many years. And in this current environment, it's maybe possibly one of those silver linings. People are rushing out to really stress them to their limit and to see what value they really have. So people that bring that in concurrent with touch or in lieu of touch, they bring it in, they see the results, and maybe they're not adequate, maybe they're not what they wanted for that customer engagement, and they discard them. So they actually, they're self-weeding, they're weeding themselves out of the market space over time, much more quickly than if they just linger in small batches, you know, small pieces here and there and there. I mean, every once in a while we field questions about oddball technologies that they exist, but nobody uses them. But they come up. But right now, the opportunity to get a lot of these technologies out there tried and tested, and as Alex alluded to earlier, things like integrating cameras, which has been going on. I know a lot of companies are putting a lot of energy into analytics. I'm not sure what kind of analytics you capture when you wave your hands in front of a screen or when you download a QR code. But the integration of cameras, the integration of these other things into the solution, because again, we talk about touchscreens, but the end customer talks about engagement. How do we reduce the friction between the business and the customer? Touchscreen might be the basis for it, but all those other pieces, adding them to them, they can be more complementary than competitive, I believe. So I think people in our market space don't need to run away from them. We can laugh at the Connects because we all see people jumping around in public spaces with them. But the other tools, they do add value. A lot of airports, wayfinding, you can go in, you're in an airport, you pick your destination, then you type in your phone address and it zaps you the information, because some of these airports, as you're walking along, you can look in your phone to how do you get there. So incorporation of these technologies versus fighting these technologies, I think is where the market will go, because people will want to add some things. And while we probably have the monopoly right here, the five of us, on every great idea in the world of customer engagement, probably, the other, a couple billion people are probably going to come up with some better ways by accident. And we as a market space should be engaging that and embracing it, not trying to defeat it. So it's how do we complement our technology with that technology versus how do we compete against it? And I think that's where the focus needs to be. Back to, where we started. Coming out of COVID, the world wants engagement. The world wants safety. and touch isn't the only solution. Now, I would argue from probably a biased position, it's one of the better or possibly the best solution. But all these technologies, I think, will accelerate and merge in and give better customer-facing solutions to all of our customers who then can service their customers.
So if I'm, we should probably start thinking about winding this down. If I'm a end user, or I'm a reseller, or I'm some sort of a solutions provider, and I'm challenged by the new normal of my business or my client's business reopening or having to rethink the way their operations are done, and they're looking at touch, what are those things that they should be thinking about and considering?
I'll go back to what I started with. It's that layered approach. Clean the environment, the door, the floor, the store, and the touchscreen. Provide that hand sanitizer, that hand cleaner station, whether it's mounted to your touchscreen or it's readily available. If you want antimicrobials, provide another layer, provide those antimicrobials. But again, it seems like we've made it the focus. You go into an environment, the touchscreen's a minor part of that environment. It just reduces a lot of transaction friction, but it's a minor piece of it. So if you can open your establishment safely and cleanly, the touch becomes the easy part. Because you've already established cleanliness regimens, you've already established spacing regimens, you've already established all those other things. You incorporate that in, and then your touch falls right in line with it, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I think touchscreens give access to information, to buy products, to buy services. So that's what someone buying touchscreens is to do that, right? And what they need to give is confidence to people. Whatever they need is they need to be cleaned. They need to clean everything, and including touchscreens. It's not different. And giving confidence to employees, to buyers, to go back in stores, and they do their thing maybe even quicker than they were doing before, more efficiently, more eventually combined a touchscreen with a cloud, with an app, but maybe with several ways that I do my purchase more efficiently. Where touchscreens are part of it, and other things are part of the customer journey that I am, as an owner of a store, of a brand, I'm looking to integrate them to facilitate the life of buying my products. So it's being touchscreens or other things is making people more confident, whatever they need, and especially now, it's what do you need, and paying attention to those several things to make that no friction thing.
Frank.
As Gary said, there are 1 billion creative people out there, and our message should be to embrace touchscreens and come up with new ways to integrate this into your customer journey and make use of this tool and not just be afraid of it.
And Alex.
Yeah, I think the important is are the people at the locations where these, and when a person is afraid for the visitor, then it will block your sale, block the information you want to provide to the visitors. And you can't take that away. When the personnel is afraid, they hide or they don't let them see themselves, then you have a big challenge. By using touchscreens, they will always be there, at least when there's power and internet, etc. But they will always give you the answer, and they will always upsell. That's why the kiosks are so popular at the quick service restaurants. There's an upsell of almost 30%. And I think as a retail organization, etc., you really have to look at your personnel. Where can we help them that they are not afraid that they can be there at a certain location and still help the visitors. And where can we, well, exchange is a big word, but where can we support them by using touch screens, kiosks, or touch walls, etc., which with applications like I mentioned in the beginning, those check-ins that can easily be done by a kiosk. Look at airports. There are no desks anymore where you have to check in. You can all do it by a kiosk. So that's my advice. Look at where can you help your personnel, your staff, feeling secure, helping the visitors feeling secure, and look where you can place them or the kiosk, the tables, etc. That's particularly my advice.
All right. Thank you, each and every one of you, for providing such great insight on what's going on and what you need to think about. And thanks for those who joined this webinar to learn. And I'd encourage each of you to check out these companies that are obviously very good at what they do and very knowledgeable. So thanks again, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave, for the help.
Thank you.
Well organized. Thank you all. All right. Have a good day.